it says it's streaming live, is it?
Recording and live.
But we have to wait for that 15-second lag to go by.
And it's saying there's an error.
And it's saying there's an error.
Oh, and it's blinking.
Is it streaming live, is it?
One exception.
Good.
Okay, hang on. I got YouTube playing.
Recording and live.
Oh, is that? Okay, now we are ready to rock and roll, if I'm not mistaken.
It's good.
And okay, we're good. Good evening and welcome to TalkWrite podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Stennett, and tonight's Hot Tropics again. So I wore my best fruit juicy shirt, as John Cunningham would say. Nick, why don't you take it and tell us who we got on tonight?
All right. Welcome, everybody. I don't have a fruit juicy shirt. Today's December 5th, and it's Krampusnacht. So I have the Bavarian demon of Christmas times on my shirt. We have tonight Don Rich, Douglas Pratt from a dark marina somewhere, and Nicholas Harvey sporting one of his line of awesome swag. I love that shirt. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. Let me quickly ask everybody to tell us your series.
First of all, Doug, weren't you in the backseat of a car last time?
Yeah, I was actually
somewhere. And now you're in a stakeout at a marina.
Yeah, I was hanging out at the boat, so I'll move downstairs.
Yeah, I think you need to be. You got to be on an airplane for the next time.
I'll do what I can. So you give me an airplane, we'll be on it.
Or a train.
What?
All right, no, go ahead.
We'll get you to hook up with Cap Daniels, who is a pilot and has his own plane.
There we go.
And yeah, he can. Maybe we'll see if we can. If he's got a sat phone.
Yes, we can do it like that. That'd be sure, no problem.
Dipping in and out of Wi-Fi whenever possible.
He can fly really low to the water. We'd be able to catch up,
Excellent. You know what? While I'm thinking of it, a cool thing, since this is Hot Tropics, we're talking about whatever. Cap Daniels has a new narrator, PJ Auckland, who's been on one of these TalkWrites. And Cap got PJ into flying, and now PJ is flying airplanes. I see posts on his Facebook as he flies. So Cap flies and his narrator flies, and I think that's pretty darn cool.
And Cap paid for
will
it.
fly at the drop of a hat. I mean, you pay for his gas, he'll go flying with you. Even if you don't pay for
it. So let me quickly go through everybody. Would everybody please tell me what your series are for the new folks watching us? Don, you're the closest one to my giant head on this screen, so I'm going to say hello and tell us about your series.
Hi, Don Rich, and I've got the Coastal Beginnings series, which is going to end up being 4 books. And that leads into the Coastal Adventure series, which is currently 10 and soon to be 11 books. And they're based on the eastern shore of Virginia and take place in a marina.
And Doug, I think the word marina means I'm going to go over to you, even though you're in a slightly different place. But tell us about your series.
Oh, well, my series is the Chase Gordon Tropical series, which takes place mostly South Florida, but he lives on a sailboat, so he can go around anywhere. So the one I just released last week, which is called Gator Alley, takes place mostly in and around the Everglades. So
hence the Gator reference.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I believe you are co-writing a book with the person I'm shooting this off to next, Nicholas Harvey. Nicholas Britnick, as we call you. Will you tell us about your 2 series, but also if the 2 of you can then tell us a little bit about this co-op that's coming up?
Yeah, so I write the AJ Bailey Adventure series, which is about a female dive boat operator in the Cayman Islands, which I just got back from. And my second series is the Nora Summer Caribbean Suspense series, which is also set in the Caymans. And she's a young Norwegian runaway who ends up joining the police force in the Cayman Islands. And the book that the series that we're just starting is a lot of fun. It came from when we chatted a little bit beforehand, and we met at NINC, and then came up with this idea. So it's the Missing in the series, and the first one is Missing in the Keys. So it's all new characters, and we're pantsing this pretty much. Wayne would be proud of us how much we're pantsing this one.
Just a quick explanation to everybody. Most folks that watch this series know the difference, but there are pantsers and there are plotters. There are those who write by the seat of their pants. You just sit down and let the story infuse and go with it. And then there are those like me who are plotters who, I don't even know which side of the brain that is, but I got to have it all sort of laid out. Well, Nick, you just came back from the Cayman Islands, which is awesome and cool. And I kept watching your posts and seeing you meeting up with all sorts of people that have showed up in your books. Was there anything that surprised you being back in the Caymans that like, oh, that's different? That's one question. And the other question is, did you meet Iguana Girl?
No. I'll answer the second one first. I didn't. And Casey Keller, who's my really good friend who used to run a dive boat that we used to go diving with all the time, and she now works for the DOE and is actually I use her as a character in the books working for the DOE, which is fun. She kind of knew of her, and she's doing work for the DOE, but it's a different department. And so no, I tried, but I never. I asked a few questions. I asked around a little bit, but I never ran across it. But yeah, a few things surprised me about the island. So despite the shutdown for quite a long time, it's the first time we've been there since we were there in March 2020. And when we flew back, literally the island shut down with COVID and all that business. So it's first time back, and we spent a month there, which was fantastic. And they've been building the whole time through COVID shutdown. They have not stopped building. So there's a lot of construction that's taken place, which is good and bad. It's a lot of high-end stuff. So there's like I said, it's good and bad. 7 Mile Beach has taken a beating, which is really sad. Just they've had a lot of the so over the years, the sand, obviously the seas are rising a little bit, which has taken some of the beach away. But the way the seas work is the way they come in, they kind of rob the sand, and then the southern storms blow it all back in again and replenish the beach again. And they've had a strange shortage of these southern storms and the waves coming from the southern side and replenishing the beach. So they've lost a lot of the beach. It's kind of 3 Mile Beach now, and then sections of it. But like outside the Marriott and stuff, there's literally no beach there anymore. You just paddle into the water, into the shallow in the sand. So there's a few things that have changed, but it was really wonderful to be back on the island. It's been our second home for 20 years. We've been going down there every year. And we stayed 2 weeks on the west end of the island, 2 weeks on the east end of the island. And we were both working full time when we were there. My wife has now got a full-time remote position, which allows us to travel like that and work. So it's really cool. But yeah, I got to see a lot of people and chatted with some folks. We're doing some custom dive gear from the AJ Bailey gear line for a couple of places down there and stuff like that. So it's really fun.
Awesome.
So you're back in Oklahoma now?
I am back on the island of Oklahoma, yes. Where it was freezing ice cold yesterday, and it was 75 today. And I think in 2 days' time, it's going to be freezing ice cold again.
Are you going to stay there through the winter?
Hell no. So, sorry if my mother-in-law is watching. No, we're staying here through the holidays so we can spend the holidays with family, and then we're actually going to go down to Galveston because it's not the Caribbean quite, but it's a lot warmer than it is here, and we're going to spend about 6 weeks working from Galveston. We found a little place down there by the water that looks really cool, and then we've just sorted. We're going to go to St. Martin for 3 months. So March,
Wow,
April,
that's
May.
fantastic.
Yeah, so Cheryl's gig that she's working for is for the AUC, which is the Medical University on St. Martin. And she works for several deans that are based in the US. But she went out there for a week and it was really cool. She liked it. And so we're going to go down there for 3 months. We've just secured a place to stay for 3 months there. And then we're going to go fly back to Miami and fly straight down to Bonaire and spend 3 months on Bonaire.
Man,
Yeah.
you've got it all worked
You're
out.
living the life, man. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Hey, all you got to do is sell everything, Wayne, and kick all the kids out of the house, and you can do it too.
And yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we're
So
very fortunate.
Don, what was your excuse again for not coming to NINC, or your reason? I'm sorry.
I wasn't a member yet.
Oh,
you
that's
very
right.
little.
Yeah. There was, I remember somebody posting something about the deadline to join and be able to make it.
Yeah,
missed
no,
out on
I didn't quite have the numbers until after NINC started.
Oh, really?
last year.
Okay. Well, okay, that's a good reason then.
Yeah.
But you'll be there next year, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no planning on it.
Well, Don, I got a question. Your books have a lot to do with the Eastern Shore, and I just saw in the news that the oldest horse from the Chincoteague-Assateague herd passed away. Do any of your books deal with Assateague and Chincoteague? It's
Not
the only
yet, but
place
they
I've
will.
ever been on. I've camped twice on the beach. And actually came back from the blood loss from the mosquitoes there.
I was about to say those.
But it was amazing
mosquitoes
because
over there
you
that'll
camp
scare
on a
you.
beach that's nowhere near any lights.
Oh yeah.
So it's one
yeah.
of it. There's few places in the U.S. that you could do something like that.
There's actually the national beaches out on the barrier where they've bought up so much of it and preserved it, and just marvelous. I mean, miles and miles, but it's also miles and miles of mosquitoes and biting flies. And so you have to go when the breeze is right, and
when the wind is going toward the bay, not from the bay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but I leave that part out in the books.
No, everything is wonderful in our books.
Absolutely.
That's right.
It's marvelous, except for
There's
the
no
bullets
poverty
and
in the Caribbean.
bombs and things.
Well, Doug, are
Seas
you on
always
your
calm and the winds are mild?
Yeah.
That's it.
Doug, are you on your own boat?
I am. Yes, I am.
Can tell us a little bit about that boat, because we got a lot of boat lovers.
Oh well, it's a 30-foot Catalina sailboat. So right now it's like I said, I'm docked in Gulfport, Mississippi. So I can go out and sail in the Sound, and we also have the barrier islands out there with the Gulf Shore National Seashore Park out that way. So it's talk about some dark areas. We'll anchor out there sometimes with no lights. It's great. You might see that. You can see this about 10 miles away. That's the lights of Gulfport and Biloxi, and that's about it. So, yeah, it's nice. It's not a huge boat. It's kind of comfortable. My wife and I are on it for the weekend, so it's our weekend, but doing a little bit of repairs and stuff before the holidays. I know I won't be back until probably January. So,
Well, that's amazing.
yeah. So.
Wayne,
Kicking my tail, and the boat will get bigger next year.
It's going to get bigger. I'm looking for add 4 more feet, and that's the rule for boats. You always got to add 4 more feet. So
There it is.
Yeah.
That's it. All that is a bowsprit.
that's right. I can do that too. I can throw one out back.
Add a bowsprit and a foresail, and man, you got a cutter rig.
Wayne, have you sort of kept track? Much like if you broke up with someone, you might check their Facebook. What's going on with your Beneteau?
It disappeared sometime in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I guess. We were downtown yesterday and I looked for it and it wasn't at the dock anymore. So it's somewhere over in New Orleans.
All right.
Oh, did they change the name? That's my neck of the woods now. So
I don't know. I tried looking for it on AIS the week that they were supposed to sail, and I never saw it on AIS. So I don't know. Don't know where it went.
You're totally stalking your boat.
Yeah.
I love that.
Cyber stalking.
I've never had AIS on a boat, Wayne. Is it tracked just by the name, or is there a serial number that goes with it?
You're assigned a serial number, and then the serial number you go to I forget what the website is. You enter your serial number, and then you can enter all your information, your boat name, owner, home port, and everything. And then while you're underway, basically it pretty much replaces radar, and it's a whole lot cheaper than radar. It's just something you add to your UHF radio.
But they can't pick up people who don't have it, can it?
No.
Yeah.
If you don't have AIS, you're invisible.
Right. So, like, I don't have AIS, so somebody'd run over me in a heartbeat. So,
It's a similar thing for airplanes, but they go by the N number, or there's also like a serial number, so you can follow.
I've been in fact, I forgot to turn off my mic, so you might have heard some weird crosstalk as I was checking YouTube. But we have some questions.
I'm actually
here.
on YouTube.
Oh, well then, tell
I've
Brittnick,
got 250
Yvonne's.
megabytes per second, baby.
Oh yeah.
No more
Well,
freezing up.
We have some questions there. Let me see. Where did it go? Help me, Wayne. Okay, here we go. B for Bell asks, what island would you recommend to visit? B for Bell has been to Grand Cayman, Cozumel, Jamaica, Bermuda, and the Bahamas. So somewhere else. And B for Bell has a 6-year-old.
To do what?
Absolutely. The Abacos.
To
Well,
do
she's
what?
got the
Harbor.
Bahamas there.
To sit on a beach, to go diving.
I don't know.
Cliff dive. I mean,
Yes.
there's such a variety of things to do, right?
that's a whole,
Well, B for Bell, tell us what you're sort of looking for, and we'll try to go further. I'll throw one out there, and I have not been here yet, but I've got a few friends who've been to Dominica or Dominica, depending on who you're talking to. There's amazing diving there and unbelievable hiking. It's like the topography is just mountains and such. Some of it kind of reminds me of Hawaii, the way it's built. Volcanic, so lush. So I would throw that one out there and probably try to follow that instruction myself and go there myself. And Yvonne,
go ahead.
Yvonne Edwards also says, Brittnick, how do you deal with that sort of life? And she says she met Guy Harvey there in Grand Cayman.
I tell everyone he's my brother.
Okay.
I knew Guy Harvey when he was selling T-shirts on the dock at Sailfish Marina in Palm Beach Shores 40 years ago, off a little
Oh my
table,
God, that's great.
a cardboard table. No kidding.
B for Bell has now elaborated, so you other guys pile in. We snorkel and just like to explore the islands and experience the local culture and food.
Still the Abacos. You have the whole sea of Abaco. Its average depth is 10 feet.
So B for Bell, I see you have Bahamas, but I bet you it wasn't Abacos. So listen to Wayne here. Continue, Wayne.
Go to Elbow Key. In fact, I'll recommend a place. Crystal Waters and Villas. It's owned by a friend of mine, Debbie Kokel. She's one of my beta readers. And it's a 4-bedroom house on a hill with a view of both the Sea of Abaco and the Atlantic Ocean. Plus they have 2 or 3 small villas that are 2-bedroom, and all of them have kitchens. And it's a real nice place.
That sounds like a place we should have a tropical authors convention.
I've been trying to tell you guys that for a couple of years.
Pick up and go. I don't get it. So.
Yeah, Debbie would already cut us a really good deal. And
no, definitely.
All you got to do is get down to Fort Lauderdale, and it's a 1 hour flight.
I have an admission to make. I have never been to the Florida Keys. I was going to go on a diving trip there with my friends. I can't remember the year, but it was the year that there were 4 hurricanes that passed through Florida. And we kept booking with Rainbow Reef in Key Largo, and then we moved it because it was a hurricane. And then there was another, and there was another. After the 3rd hurricane, we gave up. But where have you all been? Like Wayne sets things in Marathon. I recently had somebody from Maine telling me that they wanted to live in Marathon. And Nicholas Harvey spent a long time in Key Largo. John Cunningham, who's not here, has a place in Key West.
And Steve Becker has a place in Marathon and in Big Pine.
And in Big Pine Key. Well, I believe Marathon, he's suggested that we could do a tropical authors thing there.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few places. We could get Key Colony Beach has these cabanas.
Oh, Wayne has frozen while Jordan resets him.
They're all.
Oh, there he is. He was. Okay. Rest of you guys, how many of you seen Bloodline or Bloodlines?
Yeah. Bloodlines. With what's his name, Kyle Chandler and
Norbert Leo Butts, who's my favorite thing in that.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the guy I would be. It's just marvelous. That is such a great show. So for those of you watching us, if you haven't seen Bloodline, find it, stream it. You'll love
it's
it.
on Netflix.
Oh, all right. So Wayne has vanished. I'm sure he'll come back.
So Nick, you've been to Saba, right?
I have been to Saba. Oh, hey there.
So, hey, Wayne's back. So
Okay, so maybe 250 megabytes per second isn't enough either. We have a whole lot going on here. I wish I could just take the camera and turn it around the studio here. We've got 1, 2, 3 computers going, this mixer box, this mega microphone, and just all kinds of electronics that I don't know anything about.
Is the beard thing still on when this book is done?
No, I'm skipping a book this year. The last release was November 1st. I should have shaved then, but I'm skipping that to go through because I'm doing that powerlifting competition in March. I want to have a big full beard. And they're going to call me Whitebeard the pirate.
Hey, hats off to you, man. Hats off to you. That's awesome.
You got to quit losing weight there, Wayne, because every bit you lose, I'm finding.
I'm not losing anymore. I'm gaining now. I got down to 192, but I'm back up to 197. And it's
well, I haven't given it back. A month in the Caymans didn't do my waistline any good.
All that crack comp, come on.
I have been doing with my new little lake house set up here. I've been doing all this outdoor work and chopping and cutting and all this stuff. And I went in for a physical. I actually shouted at her, "Are you kidding me?" So apparently I also need to do something like that. Although, okay, this will be fun for everybody. I'm going to take you on a little journey here. I talked about this with a friend, and this is my new writing location for some parts of the day. And yes, it's already become a coat rack, but yes, it's an exercise bike with a laptop desk.
An exercise bike with a laptop desk?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, cool.
It works. I was like, I could either be incredibly comfortable lying on a couch, adding another 10 pounds, or I could try to do at least an hour and a half of work on that thing.
They make treadmill desks too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that might be the next step. Right now, unfortunately, Momo thinks it's the most fascinating thing in the world, my small Chihuahua. And she's at pedal level. and
Oh, that's not
comes
good.
in to check things out. So
Zombies.
I'm constantly having to stop. I'm like, "You get away."
Hey, Bill Black's in the house. Hey, Bill.
Oh,
Mark
cool.
Aldrich.
Oh, cool.
All right. Do we have any
So
more?
don't you sweat on the computer though? When I've tried that sort of thing, I just sweat on top of the computer. I kill the computer in 5
I
minutes.
kind of lean back and I sort of dart in to type a sentence, and then I lean back and try to, yeah.
I have trouble walking and talking on the phone. I don't know if
I mean, I'm sure I'm not doing the super high cardio, but I figure I'll go long and not super hard. I don't have it
There you
like
go.
at the top level.
Hey, beats being on the couch, like you say.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, you said something about Saba, Brittany.
Yeah, because we're going to be where we're staying. We look at Saba, and it's right there. So
I hope
we're
you
gonna
get
go
over there.
and dive.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Find
We'll
a
go
reason to
dive.
send AJ there, because it's
Mhm.
just unbelievable topography there.
It looks great, and I heard Stacia is really cool too. And there's great diving and shore diving because there's
Yeah,
not
I've been
much
to
shore diving
Stacia
in Saba.
twice.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no shore diving. You could shore dive in Saba, but you would have to fight your way through about 500 yards of sargassum. But Stacia, you go out right off from the black sand beach, and most of where you're snorkeling in Stacia are the remains of the old Dutch warehouses after Admiral Rodney and you darn Brits came in there and kicked their butts. So there's this just rubble.
Sorry
And
about
I
that.
found little bits of pottery, the sort of white and blue
wow.
pottery. Every time I went out there, I would find some.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're excited to take trips across there. At Sabre, I guess, which you very well know of the landing strip there. They take the small plane and they skim it across the water to go from St. Martin, so you can go over for a day and dive without having altitude problems. So I'm told.
Yeah, in general, yeah, they don't really go all
Well,
that.
they're only 25 miles apart. They can't gain a whole lot of altitude before they got to come back down.
Well,
I
they
think
could get enough
probably
that you
500
could have a
feet.
problem for diving though. So it's
Yeah.
but they deliberately don't, so you can literally day trip over there or just do an overnight and be diving without a restriction on flying. So,
and they've got some great high speed ferries.
Ferry boats, yeah.
And they're working on linking in St. Kitts better, and that's a place I've not been, and I had wanted to set a book there, but I just haven't found the time to go there.
Yeah.
For those of us watching, there are some very cool volcanic island. I mean, so many of the islands are volcanic, but if you look at Saba and you look at Stacia and you look at St. Kitts, they have very clear volcanoes.
Cones, yeah.
Yeah, and all of them, I thought they were extinct, but they're all dormant, which means there's possibly some things still happening. Saba still gets little rumbles from Mount Scenery.
Some of the wildest diving that I've done, some of the clearest water, was at St. Bart's, believe it or not. I know it's famous for a lot of other things, but also it's one of the most fantastic, terrifying landings you'll ever do. It's diving
Straight down the side of a mountain.
missing cars by about 6 feet, and then getting stopped before you get to the end of the runway. It's that's a thrill. I mean, that's something everybody should do at least once in their life. But the water, we were down there years ago, and the dive shack was, well, okay, where do we go? You go to the beach, and then you go about 400 meters this way. Look for the palm tree with the box under it. That's the dive shop. And then they swam out to get the boat, bring it back in, and we went out, and they're not allowed to get lobster. I don't know about fish, but they're not allowed to get lobster with a tank on. And so some of the largest lobsters I've ever seen in my life there. It all has to be done free diving. And
Yes,
Yeah.
South Caicos is that way too. The famous free diver Jacques Mayol lived in South Caicos and taught the fishermen how to properly free dive because they had to shift their whole industry. And this will be in my next book, Deep Hex. But he taught them that, and they now free dive for all their lobster, and they've ended up diving for most of their fish. They do use lines and nets occasionally, but they've gotten so good at the free diving, spear diving, that's generally how they get most of it now.
sections of the Abacos back about 30, 40 years ago, you'd see these little whalers with tanks on board, and it was full of bleach water. And they were, and they would go down and start pumping bleach water in near, and all the lobsters would come out and they'd be snagging them. Fortunately, they got them to stop that because they were killing the reefs with the flipping bleach. It was amazing. And they had the little compressors, the gasoline powered compressors on the boats. So they were, with a hookah rig, and they just wiped them out.
Mm.
Good to see them stop that, get some sense back into it.
Do we have any questions from YouTube? I've lost track because I have so many different.
Yeah, Yvonne asked, do we all write on laptops? I'm sure everybody does.
Yes.
Nobody
I don't.
uses desktops anymore.
I do.
And what
I do.
program? do
Oh,
you
no,
use?
Britnick uses
Yeah,
a desktop.
I do too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
I write on an iMac.
Yep.
I have a 24-inch iMac, and I took it to Cayman with me. You should see me lugging this thing in a case through the airport.
Oh,
putting it
wait.
in the overhead. Yeah.
So you fly
get a
to all these
laptop,
different places and you live in an RV and you don't have a laptop?
I have a laptop. Yeah, I have a little one. And on the plane, I dump what I've just been writing down from the cloud, and I'll write on the plane on the little laptop. But when I'm in wherever I'm at, and like right now, I'm sitting here looking at my 24-inch iMac, and that's what I use every day. And like I said, we took it with us to Cayman, took it on the plane as hand luggage. I have a carry bag for it. It's kind of big.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she also asked what kind of program you use. I use just plain old Microsoft Word, but I know Britnick use Vellum.
Scrivener. And I also
Scrivener.
use Vellum for formatting, but I write in Scrivener, yeah.
She wants to
Remember
know
writing vellum?
Britnick, is Scrivener the thing you guys are going to make me use for Faceless, or was it something else? There's something I'm going to have
everyone
to learn.
else is, everyone's in Scrivener except you, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I will be learning Scrivener.
Good Lord.
We have a statement here from Mark Aldrich, who says Norbert gives quite a performance in Bloodline. I'm just mentioning this because Mark Aldrich is a fellow actor who's been talking to me quite a bit about my pivot to writing. And Mark Aldrich has his first novel out. It just came out last month.
Yeah.
Now it's not tropical, although quite a bit of it is in Montauk and Long Island. So there's a lot of ocean there.
Indie or
But
trad?
it's a marvelous book. Now it's called The Peripheral, and then Apple TV came out with The Peripherals. But as I explained to him,
I've
in the
been
way
watching
Amazon works, that can only work to his benefit. So it's actually going rather well. So yeah, check out Mark Aldrich and The Peripherals, plural.
Well, congratulations. You've done something that 99.9% of the people in the world never do.
That's what I say. Yes.
99.999% probably.
Let's see. Any more questions? Robert?
We
Hatfield?
talked about Facelip, and B for Bell said, is that a slip of what's to come? Faceless. Well,
I guess
yes.
we should talk about, yes, the Tropical Authors exclusives, although we now are using the more playful term, the Less is More series. We have Graceless Timeless are already out. Shameless is coming very soon. And then we have Faceless. Nope, sorry. Priceless, Ruthless. Wait, is it Priceless, Faceless, Ruthless?
Correct.
Okay, right. So Shameless is coming next. Check it out, guys. And then we also have Priceless, Faceless, and Ruthless. We're just having a ball with these. Each of them has 3 to 4 writers. And it combines all your favorites. And we have a question from, oh, no, Mark Aldrich is just thanking us. All right, does anybody have anything they want to announce, like in terms of deals or things they're working on? Brittnick, what is your next book that you were telling me you're up to? I'm like, oh, he's ahead of me again. 65. How many words are you into your latest?
Too bloody many. So I've done it again. You know, when you get to the end of the book and you've only got 4,000 more words to write, and then you write 2,000 more and you still got only 4,000 more words to write. You keep kicking the can a bit further down the road because you're trying to wrap up all the bits and pieces. So I'm in that stage at the moment with Anchor Point, which I am really, really pleased with. It's cool, and I've written it in. So anyone that's read my stuff, no, I write a lot in twin timelines, like similar to what we did with Timeless, and so it's in the early 1700s is one timeline, and current present day is the other. And I wrote in first person in the 1700s, and then third person, as I always write, AJ Bailey in current time, and it makes the other timeline really personal, I feel like. So I'm enjoying it. So I hit I think I'm at 77,000 now, and I still have another 3 or 4 to go. So I'm supposed to, I have to get it to my editor a week from today. So, and I've got to do my read through and edits yet. So I'm on full, like, caffeine crazy.
What do you aim for? How many words
Most
do you
on life
aim
support.
for? And what's the longest book you've written?
Oh, that's a good question for everybody. So
My longest was my second book. When I released Fallen Palm in October of 2013, I started writing Fallen Hunter and finished it in 10 weeks, including publishing. And it was 130,000 words.
Whoa, that's like fantasy sci-fi novel length.
Yeah, it was way too long. And then Fallen Out's the shortest at 52,000.
I aim for 70 every time. When I set out, I aim at 70, and I've never had one come in under that. Everything's 72 to, I think, 83, 84,000 words. So
that's what mine are, and that's what I was shooting for with Fallen Hunter, but I just got a little long-winded.
Yeah.
I shoot for 60 to 80, but sometimes I had one that went up into the hundreds and some, but it was part of the series that I've just been rewriting. So I just went back and ripped a lot of it out. It was one of my earlier books.
Well, the story's over when it's over. That's the thing. I mean, sometimes the story takes a little longer to tell, and sometimes it takes a little shorter.
Usually I shoot for about 65,000 to 70. Usually fall in somewhere between 65 to 70. Just depends on where the story goes. Some of my early stuff was around 50 to 60. Currently, that's what I'm shooting right now.
Pantser or plotter?
I'm
Pantser.
a little bit of both. I don't plot very well. Like I plot because I'm constantly plotting in my head. I just don't write it always down. Which working with seeing what Brittnick's doing, he makes me kind of ashamed of myself, and I've kind of stood in the corner a little bit after. Man, he's got like, I can tell you that he's got timelines go back to like 1700s for AJ Bailey. I'm like, how do you even? I mean, I've just lost. He's brilliant at that. So yeah, a little bit of it.
I had to look to see because mine sort of get away from me, and I plot mine, And and yet I guess that's part of the problem is sometimes the chapter I've decided has to occur here, Emily just starts spouting off and it ends up being twice as long. But Deep Focus was 98,000 words and I shoot for 65.
Wow.
And this one I
Yeah.
think is going to be longer than Focus.
So do you, out of curiosity, you guys that plot, and this is kind of the way I'm thinking about it, and we had this discussion while I was at 20 books a couple weeks ago, that the idea of taking it, like, to me, I like 3 or 4 really big action scenes, and I just work my way from one to the next. And if the story gets there, there may be a lot of little action scenes as we go, but usually I like to ramp it up a little bit. So what do y'all think? What is your process for that?
Yeah, I mean, I generally try to figure out, because all of my books are set on a different island, I try to sort of figure out what tropes that work so well in thrillers and mysteries work best for that island, and I plug it in. And then I do try to pick some set piece things that kind of fit into the act structure. But sometimes I think that gets you in trouble because when you're writing as a plotter, no matter how much we plotters say we're pure plotters, the pantsing starts to come in. And so then you might end up with a little more than you bargained for. My latest situation, I think I'm going to remove an entire set piece thing, which I thought was pretty brilliant, but I just feel like it's too much now. But yeah, I mean, I do try to put in things that I would consider, if you're watching Game of Thrones, there's usually a holy heck moment that happens 3 times per season. So I try to kind of do something like that in a book.
I
Interesting.
always start with chapter 2 because I'm a 100% pantser and I don't know what the story's going to be about. And the murder or kidnapping or drug dealer or whatever, that always happens in chapter 1. And until Jesse finds it, I don't know about it.
Oh, that's cool. So you pants
Yeah.
your way until you hit what the cold open's going to be. And then you go back and
I usually
do it.
I try to start off with something familiar to people and just try to describe a setting or something from Jesse's point of view as he's standing in the water and the currents running past his feet. You know how your feet sink into the sand? I just described something like that. And then he hears a gunshot and then, okay, now I know what's going to happen.
You ever write one that you got to the end of it, you had to write it, it was an important book to write, but dang, you just didn't like it that much?
Are any of us going to admit that?
I don't know. I hate a lot of my books. So.
I have one that I had to write it because the characters had to go through what was in the book to continue the series, but I didn't like it. And I'm not going to tell you which one it is.
I know exactly how you feel. My last 2 were transition books from one lifestyle where Jesse is, in command of this big research vessel, and now he's back in the Keys. But you can't do that overnight. There's a transition that has to take place. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my fans weren't all that crazy about it because there wasn't a whole lot of action. But this next one should satisfy that problem.
But you got their attention.
The action starts at 22,000 words and doesn't end until the end.
Wow. Has everybody read On Writing by Stephen King?
I have.
Yes.
I'm very careful about my adverbs after reading that.
Oh God, I hate that.
But I'm like, he uses adverbs right and left, but he makes a valid point that sometimes they're just not necessary.
I like the one thing that he said in it where he said, write the book, then go back and take 10% of it and yank it out.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm taking 10% of my storyboard and yanking it out before I get to it.
That's next week's job. I'll write the end on this weekend, and then next week is all review and revise, and more will be added. Some will be yanked out.
Anybody using Grammarly or one of the AI?
I use the Pro Writing Aid. which she does pretty well. I mean, what I tend to do is I go back the next day and I run it through at least everything I wrote that day until I get a whole chapter done, and then or I'll do a whole chapter so I have a section, and I'll do that a couple of times. So I'm going through it with Grammarly because I would put my commas wherever I want to.
Guilty.
It's not
Yeah.
as bad as Brett Nick, who like puts one every other word. So
I throw commas around like confetti, man.
but no, it actually, I published my first one back in 2010. So I did Grammarly for a little bit. I did Pro Writing Aid, and they've improved so much for what they can do. The AI is getting smarter, so it's worth doing, in my opinion. It definitely helps cut down. I mean, still, when I give it to Gretchen, she still chops it up like it's like it's a carrot in front of a stew or something like that. But it's
Gretchen is a hard taskmaster, but
she is.
For those of us watching, a friend of mine from high school read one of my books that had already been proofed by a professional proofer, and my friend Gretchen said, "Nick, I love Deep Shadow. I hope you let me proof your next one." And I was like, "What do you mean?" Because it had been proofed, it had been edited, I had narrated it, I had edited the narration, and she still found 37 mistakes. So Gretchen now has at least 12 of the tropical authors as her clients.
She's edited the
Less is More series.
Bracelets, Timeless. She's going to edit for Doug and I in Missing in the Keys. And she's proofreading for me now. And
she edited Mark Aldrich's Peripherals, so she has branched out into different genres.
Yeah.
She's great. She's very, very, very thorough. Like she's picking up things. The one I just wrote, I had a character I made. I put him in a small town, and I think it's Clayton, Georgia. So I just called it the Clayton, Georgia High School. She came back. She goes, "Well, if you want to know, actually, it's." She gave me the name of the high school. I was like, "Wow, you went and really dug up some research for that." So, I don't even research it that much, obviously.
And then there's the brownies.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have a few questions. Looks like Brittany's been sneakily answering some of them.
Yes, but merch, Nick, you're being asked when you're going to do merchandise.
Okay, my artist, I thought he was busy or something, but he hit me up with something really cool the other day. I had a few notes for him, so we're getting there. I'm going to have some merch at some point, but probably should write my book first. We have a question.
But I have it already. If you want some, I've got it already.
What is the short? Oh, this is a good question. What has been the shortest time it has taken one of you guys to finish a novel?
28 days.
That would
How
be
many?
Fallen Hunter, 130,000 words in 10 weeks.
Yeah.
10 weeks. Okay.
That's including publishing and editing.
Well, this is writing the book, right? The question's how long it takes you to write. Mine would be 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Roughly, yeah.
I'm not even going to answer. It takes me way too much. I do narrate too, so it kind of
have a day job.
Yeah. I'm still at 10 to 12 weeks. I'm still at 10 to 12 weeks of writing time, but then I turn it over to my assistant for all the other stuff, and then I just jump into the next book. So all in all, it's about 3 or 4 months between books, but my writing time is only half of that, probably.
I have an assistant. Meet my assistant. Hi, I'm Nick's assistant.
Bill Black asks, so if one finds errors in the released book, would you prefer to be gently notified or not? I think all of us would want to be notified because the great thing about controlling the publications yourself is you can fix that.
Yep.
I mean, I'll go in and fix one typo if you got one.
But one thing
tell me about it than do it through the Kindle so we get the quality issues because they are often wrong. But
Well,
yeah.
or reach out to me directly so it doesn't
reach out
flag it.
my email's in the back of every book. You can
Because some of us don't use vellum and we're idiots and we pay someone to do it. So I have to wait for her.
And if we fix it and it's on Kindle, it won't necessarily fix it on your Kindle. It has to be a new download.
Oh, yeah.
It still stays there because it's in your Kindle.
Don't tell Kindle, tell us.
Yeah.
B for Bell, what's the name of the Stephen King book? I believe it's On Writing. Is that
Yes,
correct?
On Writing.
On
yeah.
Writing. Let's see. Wow. There's a lot of people asking about the merch. I'll get to it, I promise.
And we're going to do some tropical author merch at some point, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. There's going to be tropical author merch. And I think what we're going to try to do, go ahead and announce this. We're going to have the tropical authors shirt with the tropical authors logo on the breast. And then on the back, we may have like a collage of all of the book ones of as many people that want to be on it. Or you could get a shirt that's got tropical authors, and on the back is like
Collage of logos.
the logos of everybody.
Yeah.
Or we could have each person's individual logos. Basically, we want tropical authors eventually to have a store where you can get things that have your author's stuff on it or tropical author stuff on it.
And stickers.
And stickers to put
like
on your
stickers.
luggage.
Stickers are a great seller, aren't they, Jordan? How many stickers do we sell a month? 15 or 20?
Really?
Probably at least.
Who was it that
Yeah.
pushed you to get stickers, Wayne? Oh, right, me.
Oh, that was, yeah. I don't remember who that was,
It
but
was me.
Don's got a nice sticker
those-
behind him, actually.
those are great.
Behind your
sellers.
head, Don.
What's that?
Right behind Don's head, there's a nice sticker, isn't there?
Oh, yes.
Okay, this is something very cool that I think listeners would enjoy. Yvonne Edwards says, interesting fact, I met Ray Bradbury. He wrote Fahrenheit 451 in about 10 days while in the basement of a college. Had to pay like 10 cents a page. Wife brought him meals. How cool is that? Wow.
That would have been on a
That is dedication.
That would have been on a typewriter, probably manual. That was.
Oh, I
Yeah.
still have my typewriter in the basement somewhere.
And I can't even imagine like having to type. Oh,
Who?
All right.
What's your favorite book that you have written? Of your So that's a question.
Oh, of our
What's
own.
Yeah. What's
Oh.
yours, Wayne? What's the favorite one?
The favorite one that I've written.
Yeah.
I would say Fallen Pride,
That's a great one.
because it just means a lot to me. All the proceeds from the sale of it go to service members undertaking disabled scuba, and has been for years now. It went to several other veterans organizations before that. In total, I think it's my donations from that book is over six figures, I'm sure.
It's a powerful story too, though. I mean, I think that's my favorite book of yours that I've recorded. That's a
And
good one.
the character Jared is an actual real person. He's a friend of mine, the son of a friend of mine who's in the Marine Corps. And when I asked him to help me on this because he was going through a similar situation, and we did a lot of talking back and forth and crying in each other's beer, I guess. And at the end, I asked him how he wanted to go out in the book. You want to live happily ever after? And he says, no, I want to go out in a blaze of glory, man.
Well, you did that for him, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Brittany,
Yeah,
what's
that
yours?
was, and I'm recapping part of that in the book I'm writing now, Fish On. Jesse and Charity are working together.
No spoilers.
Well, she just keeps saying deja vu because they're traipsing across the Caribbean looking for somebody, just like they did with Jason Smith at the end of Fallen Pride.
who died in Coburn Town, Grand Turk, which is where my next book starts. See how everything ties together? Yeah, Don asked Britnick. I heard him say it. What is yours? Let's go down. What's your favorite book of the ones you've written?
When people ask me that, I always say the one I'm writing right now, because you're so embedded in the process. Your head's really inside that, what's going on with that. But of mine, Solomon's Well in the AJ series is one that's a favorite of mine and seems to be a favorite with a lot of people. It's very kind of touching and personal. And the one I'm writing now has a similar vibe in a lot of ways about it, so I'm pretty happy with it.
Well, Don, how about you? What's your fave? Coastal Jury.
Yeah, gotta have.
I love that.
It was fun to write. I enjoyed the new characters that I put in it, and it's actually the one when friends ask for a book, even though it's number 9 in the series, they could all be read as standalone. I give them Coastal Jury. It's my favorite.
Doug, how about you?
Oh, I mean, kind of like really the one I just finished, Gator Alley, was one I've had a lot of fun doing, partly because it's a story that had been rattled around my head for a while, and I took a different tack with it. So it's a lot of action, which is always fun to write. But my favorite's probably gonna be Deep Gold, which probably everybody's favorite. But I get to kill Nazis in it, and that was always fun. It was a treasure hunt. We were chasing around. It was outrageous, but it was. I mean, I had a lot of fun writing it because I had some good, Nazis. They're good bad guys, and then had a girl, had a boat, and had a lot of diving in that one. So,
what are y'all reading now?
What about you, Nick?
I mean, part of me wants to say Zombie Bigfoot, but and I am working on the sequel.
Fun book. That was just a fun book.
I mean, I just felt that was a hoot. But I think the best crafted book, the one that brings me the most pleasure, is Deep Cut. The serial killer fighting you on the top of Mount Scenery on Saba during Hurricane Irma. I just felt like everything sort of came together. And a lot of times I'll finish books that some people are like, this is the best one yet. And I read that review and I go, thanks, but it's not as good as Deep Cut. I need to get one like that. I think that one's the tightest.
Jordan says she agrees.
Yeah, well.
What are y'all reading now?
Purple Deceiver by John Cunningham.
Good one.
I'm reading that at the office. And what's the other one that I'm reading here? Nick's number 3 in the Nora series.
Dark Summer.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm enjoying both of them. And I thought I don't have very much time to read. So I thought maybe I could read 2 at a time. I can get them done faster. I don't know if that's going to work, but that's what we're trying.
My wife does that. She'll read 3 books at a time. She'll have like one at work, one at home when she was at work in an office, and then she'll have one like on a Kindle, but then the others will be paper. And I was also like, how do you do that? How do you keep it in your head? She's like, do you only watch one TV show at a time? I'm like, well, that's a fair point.
That's point.
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
But Cheryl's smarter than you are anyway. So I'm right now listening to Britnick's Garden of the Queens because it was on sale. So I'm in
thank you.
A little bit. I probably got about an hour left on it, so I'm gonna finish it on the way back tomorrow.
And that's still on sale, right?
Still on sale, I think. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And let's see, I started reading. I just finished reading Mark Graney's. I was rereading the Gray Man series that he did. Because he writes really well action. He's also Memphian. He's a good Memphis boy, so I got to make sure, throw some. But yeah, it's kind of rereading a little bit of him as he did some. Like I said, he writes some really great action scenes. But there's so many. I got a stack of books, a mile high. I keep going to the bookstore. The nice big one in Knoxville, McKay's. So,
I love McKay.
oh my gosh, yes.
I have boxes in the other room to bring down to Tennessee when I go
Yeah.
visit family to take to McKay's.
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually paid for a book of McKay's in so
Oh,
long.
Well, with that, guys, we are out of time. It's 7:30 and Greta has dinner on the table and Jordan's chomping at the bit. I want to thank you guys for being on here tonight. It was a lively discussion. Always fun to have these hot tropics discussions. Talk about anything, whatever comes up. And the next one will be 4 months from now. So that'll be in March.
And we're shifting to the first Tuesday of the month, right?
Yeah, starting January will be on the first Tuesday because Jordan's class load is heavier on Monday, and she won't be home in time to run this ship, and I can't do it. So thanks for being on here, guys, and thanks to our sponsors and supporters: Aurora Publicity, Pirate Radio, Down Island Publishing, Tropical Authors, How Not to Sail. I think I hit them all that time.
I think you got them all this time. Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, gang.